Greetings from a fishing village on the Atlantic coast. You've tuned in to podcast Port Wenn, celebrating the world of Doc Martin unofficially. I'm Chesla Wexler, and we'll be discussing Doc Martin, the medicine, the mayhem, and the marvelous people of Port Wenn. Before we start, I dropped a short video describing Buckham Fair. I hope you'll check it out. Donations to Buckham Fair are a great way to say thanks for this wonderful Doc Martin, best medicine entertainment that we all love. And now, on to the episode. I'm pleased to have yet another new face join the guest list. Meet Carol, an Unspoiled Best Medicine fan. Unspoiled means she has not watched Doc Martin. Carol hails from the Western United States, which makes me very happy. We've been largely an East Coast, Midwestern show so far, and I'm glad to get folks a bit wider afield now. She's also a fan of Sheriff Mark, someone I want to give more love to this season. Come through and welcome to Podcast Port Wenn.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be speaking with everybody.
I think it's lovely. So you have watched the whole series?
I have, and I have watched multiple times every show.
You have?
I have.
That's great. That's great. So you really love it.
I do. I really do. It's been a real fun watch. And as I've mentioned to you, I had shoulder surgery, so it just helped me laugh into recovery. So it's been a lot of fun for me.
That's great. Now, do you watch on Fox or on Hulu?
I have watched it on Fox. I have watched some on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
But with demand, that's real easy to catch up on any shows.
Yeah. I tend to watch Fox the night it airs, and then I watch it the next day on Hulu so I can skip all the ads and just kind of refresh my brain.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great for, being a podcast host because I do need to kind of know a lot of the details.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell me what you love about the show.
Well, I like it in the sense with the humor, all the zingers, the one-liners. In my working career, I've made some comments similar to what they've said and thrown some looks of faces, and people after meetings go, what was that about? It's like, what? But just the characters, the sense of the community that they have, and this doctor coming in from a big city trying to fit in, and all of his struggles to make that happen and connect with the people.
Sure. What do you think of Port Wenn and all of its various festivals? And
I think to be able to participate in some of that stuff would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, they may have something like that around here, but it's not that small town feel where everybody knows everybody and everybody's business, which is a plus and a minus.
Yeah. And that seems to be how the people of Port Wenn feel about it too, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. When the scene or the episode where they had the bean dinner, it's like all of a sudden the teenagers were like, hey, nice suit, Doc, and sorry I punched you in the nose. And everybody forgets all their troubles and all their little things that are mad about, and they get on with being happy with each other.
Yeah. Our little town here actually has an election night dinner, which I love. It's a fundraiser for the high school music department, and the food is donated from a local Italian specialty gourmet bistro place. It's always very good. And it's just so nice because everybody casts their ballot for whomever they're voting for, and then we all get together for spaghetti dinner, and it doesn't matter who you voted for.
As long as you vote, right?
Yep, it's a nice little small town thing. Now, what drew you to the show?
The commercial where they advertise it that the doctor is afraid of blood. And I thought, well, that's an interesting concept.
Yes.
How is this going to turn, and how is he going to fit in with the town folk? That's what intrigued me.
Sure. Had you heard of Doc Martin before?
I had not. It's like Doc Martin.
So, yeah, it's, this is an American adaptation of that show, I would say, as someone who knows the show thoroughly. Best Medicine's definitely finding its own voice and going on, it seems like a very different show, which is probably good for an American audience. Since we all share the same basic language, if you were going to be a Doc Martin fan, you've probably watched Doc Martin. And so there's lots of people who can watch Best Medicine who never even knew there was a Doc Martin. Do you watch any British television?
Not really. My dad, way back in the day, used to watch Benny Hill.
Yeah.
Which, but I've not really watched a whole lot of it.
Yeah. Benny Hill, I do not like at all.
Okay. Very, very different
Yeah.
humor.
Yeah. But I tend to like a ton of other British shows, and I know a lot of people, they think like British TV is Benny Hill. Like, no, there's
Yeah, which no, it's just a little snippet of
yeah,
it.
there's so much else out there that's so very, very good. But did you have a favorite episode?
I think probably the one that they discovered that Louisa had hemochromatosis,
Okay.
and just where that was going to go with his fear of blood,
Mm-hmm.
because I know two individuals that have had it,
Yeah.
and it didn't end well for them. So,
Oh, gosh. Well, hopefully Louise is going to be treated well by the
yeah,
doc.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But the angle of the needle, it looked like to me, and I am not into the medical sciences, but when he put that needle in her arm, it almost looked like it was a straight dagger shot instead of angled. And I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah. Just from a watching of the TV series, I don't know if they use different needles for, hematomacrosis, bloodletting versus anything. I mean, Erica, who was on the podcast, has hematomacrosis, so she was actually giving us comments on it. But I find that the way Josh Charles Martin Best does medicine on Best Medicine does not seem as polished as on the Doc Martin show.
okay,
It seems more like, he's a real physician versus a physician actor. But
okay, gotcha.
yeah, so I don't know, that dart might have been completely accurate, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I don't know. And, I didn't know most of the cast. In fact, I mean, Annie Potts,
Mm-hmm.
I knew. And then when Dee Dee Khan was sitting there, she was talking in that first episode. And it's like, that's Dee Dee Khan, isn't it? So I was looking it up, and sure enough, it was her because I
Yeah,
remember her from Greece.
she was the only person that I knew in the cast, and it was from
Oh,
Greece,
really?
until somebody mentioned that Annie Potts was in Ghostbusters,
Yeah, and the show Designing Women,
and I never
that was a
watched
good
that.
series. Oh, that was fun. That was a fun show.
Do you like sitcoms in general?
Some of them, some of the ones that they've got out now, it's like I just am not real fond of.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to be like a Picket Fences, Ally McBeal, Game of Thrones. Like those are more the types of shows that I watch.
Okay.
And so it wasn't clear to me whether watching a show like Best Medicine, which is more of a comedy than anything else, was going to appeal to me, besides the fact that I am a huge Doc Martin fan and would like this basic premise. How about characters? We have so many characters to pick from in Best Medicine. Who do you really love? Who drives you nuts? Who is your fave?
Well, I do like Mark just because I mean, yeah, he's kind of an immature type at times, but he also is a good soul at the end of the day, and he will be there for anybody at any time. And he makes sure his town is taken care of.
He is very,
Even
very
though
sweet.
yes, but when he was given that parking ticket to Doc, the one series, he finally was holding his feet to the ground on that one. It's like, no, this is it, buddy.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. You kissed my girlfriend, you're getting a ticket.
Yeah, you can't take back.
That's right.
So, yeah. And he's just cute. I just
Yeah.
think he's a doll. And I kind of resonate with the doc because when he says he hates people, it's like sometimes I'm driving in my car and it's, I hate people. It's like it's too peoply out there for me today. I
Yeah.
just can't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, even people at work have said that too. It's just like,
That's funny.
well, no, it's very resonant with me.
Oh, good. So you can identify with Martin.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that he seems like a fish out of water in this town, or does he just sort of seem like a guy who likes his own company?
I can see a little bit of both because I enjoy, well, I don't know if I enjoy my own company, but I'm in my own company a lot. Fish out of water, I think he's trying to find his way in with the town in a not so charming way, I guess I'd say. He tries to put in jokes that aren't really jokes to other people, like the line where he said, well, at least I don't use leeches to draw blood.
Right. Yep. Yep.
But I think as each episode has progressed, he's made himself more part of the town. Like when he got the Norwegians, it's like, this isn't medicine, this is about Port Wenn.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's slowly endearing himself to the town, but he's not quite there yet. And I mean, his Aunt Sarah keeps him in check. So, and I love her character as well.
How do you think that, I mean, if there were 13 episodes, what's your impression of the series overall? Like how it unfolded for you?
I enjoyed it. Don't like how it ended because, of course, you want Doc and Louisa to get together. I mean, that's in part human nature, I guess. But just overall, I'd say I thoroughly enjoyed all of the episodes. And, each week it was some malady that, if you don't follow what I'm telling you, the world's going to fall apart and we're all going to die,
Right.
But that evolved as they got past, Blueberry Festival and all that stuff. So it got to be more of a inner workings of a day-to-day town versus, well, let's focus on this festival, let's focus on that one and this one.
Mm-hmm.
But in part, that kind of introduced you to the town and how they work, celebrate things. And so, I mean, that part was fine.
Yeah. I kind of expect less of that in season 2.
Yeah. My questions or my thoughts are the Norwegians with their drones went underwater. Did they
Yes.
pick up on those?
The
Or
sea
what did she
urchins.
find? Yeah, the urchins. They must have picked up on that. So, yeah, they were going to build a salmon farm, but did that contract address the urchins? Is that going to be an issue?
Yeah. I had that
And
same recollection that those drones had gone under the water and Glendon, the bully, he was the guy who misled everybody on the contract signing for the sister city thing. And I'm sure that there's part of him that's just going to be lining his own pockets with something, but he could have at least a little bit of some of the town's best interests, and the fact that the fishing is starting to die off and the town needs, the school is closing, the town somehow needs an influx of money. So I don't like how he went about it, and I wouldn't want them to have the salmon farm because I think it would mess up their harbor.
well, yeah, that's just it. Yeah, I agree with you on those points where, yes, he's going to probably do something that he's going to make some good money on, but it also was going to help the people in the town. Because I was thinking, well, if she gets these urchins, that's going to keep the school open and keep the town sustainable for however long. I don't know anything about the farming of urchins and, what the likelihood of that lasting however long. I didn't think that they grew in that temperature of water actually, but
Yeah, I looked it up because I'm a nerd, and it does end up that they are valuable, as a delicacy. But apparently the harvesting of them is extremely difficult. So the fact that they're there doesn't seem to me like it's, a done deal as far as how they're going to actually get them off the bottom of the ocean, because it seems like you have to go down there, I think, as divers. I can't really see, the Berts and the Aunt Sarahs, diving and pulling up sea urchins.
well, yeah, because the ocean's not a smooth surface. Those things grow on rocks or perch on rocks and wherever they can be
Right.
to live. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see how they develop that plot arc. But yeah, I mean that the ending of the series was a bit of a cliffhanger because we don't know what's going to happen with Doc Martin's license, right? And
yeah.
Elaine's blood drawing and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think it was on one of your podcasts where it was mentioned that nobody has actually seen, or Glendon has not actually seen her, Elaine, draw the blood. So, what proof of evidence do they have to hold that against him?
Yeah.
And then what's his old girlfriend's name that blew into town?
Yeah. Eden Montgomery.
Yeah, Eden.
She's nosing in, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
What did you think of her and them?
She's a little, to me, is over the top. And I think she's too high strung for him. He's kind of high strung. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I think she's just kind of another notch above him,
Mm.
is how I'm rating it a little bit. And I think it threw her when he, well, when Louisa confronted him about what senator, why didn't you say something before, and saw them hugging? And she saw something like, yeah, you care for her, don't you? Kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think she's going to try too hard. And I don't know if they'll try and do anything or if he's just going to put the kibosh on it.
You know, they
I
seemed
don't
kind of compatible when they were hanging out at the restaurant. And he didn't seem thrilled when she showed up at his house, but he didn't really seem ready to throw her out either.
know, but he also looked out the door like, did anybody see her come in?
I caught that too. Yeah.
It's like,
Doug had an interesting thought that I didn't catch until I rewatched. And I had just assumed he had called her because she said, I knew you'd call. But Doug's thought was Eden was just saying, I knew you'd call, so I just came.
hmm,
And when I rewatched, I thought, you know, she did just show up into town unannounced. It would not be ridiculous to think she just showed up at his door unannounced.
right, right.
So,
I mean, what brought her there was when he sent Louisa to go see her.
yeah.
And so that just opened that door wide open.
Yep. Yep.
And oh, by the way, I'm here in town and I've got your results. And yeah, it
Mm,
was too easy of an in.
yeah. Do you think Louisa will allow Mark to be the father of her baby?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I've kind of thought about that. And I'm thinking maybe not, because she doesn't want to have to, because if she does end up with Martin, I mean, there's going to be Mark always in the picture
Mm,
and dealing with that. So I don't know if she'd want to put up with that, dealing with Mark and making sure he's got the time with the kid and all
mm-hmm.
that stuff. Just, I kind of have a feeling no.
Okay. I thought it was interesting when the kids all went to jail because they were protesting, and Mark and Louisa were there, and what the kids were like, what great parents you guys would be. And it's true.
Yeah,
The two of them would have had so much fun with their kids.
right. Right. Yeah, because that whole thing when Greg and George
Mm-hmm.
taught them, now this is how you protest. This is what you got to do.
Right.
And when they said, "Well, how do you know about all this?" This is, "Well, if you only know the change that we
Yeah.
made happen."
Yep.
And when they came back, I'm just laughing. And it's like, good for you. And then they get all excited about being in jail and, let's see, they were trespassing, and I forget the other charge they were given.
Yeah, I forget. Disturbing the
Something,
peace or something, you know?
yes, something like that. And they get all excited.
Somebody on Facebook pointed out, and I didn't notice this till after I rewatched it. So hat tip to the person on Facebook whose name I sorry I don't remember. That the jail cell has a window, a glass window with Venetian
Yeah,
blinds. You know, it's like that is not a really secure jail.
no, it is not. I didn't even notice
I
that.
didn't notice it till he mentioned it, and then I watched him like son of a gun. You're right. Now maybe there's bars, you know, we don't really see, but
I'll have to go back and
yeah,
watch that, but I thoroughly enjoyed that. Well, it just, the whole jail scene just, and them teaching how to protest, just, that was so fun to
yeah,
me.
I agree.
And, how the children are our future. And George is like, you know,
Why do you think things fell apart between Mark and Louisa?
They never really addressed that, did they?
Mm-mm.
Truly. Kind of things based off of what I've read, like people's Facebook posts and whatnot. It was like he just didn't excite her. He just didn't maybe have the mental capacity to keep her engaged,
Mm.
maybe, because she's pretty sharp. And not to say he's that dumb, but, if you believe your goldfish went off to be in a rock band,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
When you're
know,
40 years old.
yeah, that's a little bit, that's reaching a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we always let me see it. I don't know if you can see the dogs back here, but see those two dogs? All right.
Yeah.
So on the one side is Dynamo, who's very smart, and on the other side is Pumpkin, who's very sweet.
Mm.
So we
Well,
always, I think Louisa is smart and Mark is sweet. And
yes,
you can even
yes.
kind of tell looking at those two dogs that one of them is very smart and one of them wasn't very smart at all.
Yeah, that's it. He is very sweet. And like I say, he's a good soul. He would do anything for anybody at any time.
Yeah.
One instance was when, Dee Dee Khan's character bumped her
Geneva.
head. Yeah, Geneva, and scraped her head. And she wanted to play a card game. And he says, I love that, gin rummy or something. And he stayed with her.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, that goes a long way too.
Yeah, because there's a generation between them, and he's
Oh,
willing to hang. He's checking up on her when the power's out. Seeing how she's
right.
doing.
Right.
Yeah, he is very sweet.
Yeah.
What do you think of Elaine?
She's an interesting character in that, to me, she gives mixed messages. In that she wants Al, she wants to be with Al, she wants out of Port Wenn.
Mm-hmm.
And when she tried to get on with Juilliard and he did all the things to get into the schools in New York City, and then she doesn't get in, but she keeps kind of sending mixed messages. And when they were that couple in that blood factory thing, he's kind of like, yeah, I get that you want out, but yet, it's kind of like you're almost leading me on in a sense that I'll call you my boyfriend now, but I want to leave town
Mm-hmm.
and I love you, but I want to leave town. It's just kind of mixed.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where she's going to end up. I'm assuming she's going to end up probably staying in the position she's in. She's going to get certified to be a phlebotomist or whatever they call those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be where she may end up.
She certainly has the skill set to be a caregiver.
Yes, she does.
And so, and she doesn't seem to mind it. She seems to gravitate towards it and be happy to do it. So I hope for her sake that, it's a little bit of a calling for her, because I think we would probably both agree that her opinion of her acting is much higher than her ability.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's how she engages people in the waiting room, playing the games, the spoons on the nose and the marshmallow game that was a chubby bunny and all that. And she just seems to be able to meet people where they're at in life. And she just engages well with everybody.
Yeah. The town loves her, obviously.
Yes.
I think she's capable of everything. Like I really like that character. Like I'm not a fan of her social media presence. I thought that was just silly, but I really like Elaine as a person.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first episode kind of was not totally off-putting, but with the bear in front and stuff, and it's like,
No.
you're not old by any means, but that's just kind of childish.
Even my Gen Z people that I've talked to are like, yeah, no, that's not something that I would stop on my scrolling.
Yeah.
What do you think of Martin and his parents and the whole Rosemary blood phobia thing?
That is going to be, I hope, something they dive into more next year, because was the father driving
Mm-hmm.
and how bloody was that accident?
Mm-hmm.
And was the trigger of that girl coming in, fairly recently needing surgery that brought all of that back to him?
Mm-hmm.
And hoping they bring his parents back for discussions and, we need to address this and tell us what really happened in that accident. But I thought it was a great episode, and it's, you want to slap Doc Martin because now he wants to sell his sister's house because he's got this big gambling debt
Right.
thing looming over him.
Yep.
The characters, Judith Ivey,
Mm-hmm.
and she was on Designing Women also for a
That's
bit.
what I understand. Yeah.
And Martin Clunes, they played those roles very, very well.
I agree.
I enjoyed them.
Had you
I mean,
seen
she
Martin
was
Clunes in anything else?
no.
Yeah. But you knew he was a British actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
I talked to Jennifer and Mackenzie recently. That's a good episode if you haven't seen it. It was two people who gave sort of a mother-daughter who gave their view of the whole series. And so Jennifer is what was she? She's a Gen Xer, and Mackenzie's a Gen Zer, and they were not aware that that had been a British actor. And I wanted to ask them that question because not all British actors can pull off an American accent.
Yeah, he did very well with that. I was very interested in seeing how he was going to talk.
Mm-hmm.
If he was going to have his British accent and somehow tie it back to where, well, no, it wouldn't make sense because he came from Port Wenn. So,
Right. But,
mixed that
Annie
idea,
Potts
but
has like a southern accent, so she doesn't exactly sound like
no,
someone from
no,
Maine.
no. But I'll tell you, I've been to New York City. I had a cousin that lived there, and I know they filmed this in the Hudson Valley, but I want to go see Maine.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
looks spectacular.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I've been to Maine and it is very pretty. So I'll tell you, I've been to Port Isaac, which is where Doc Martin was filmed. And now that is a drop dead gorgeous location. It is just absolutely stunning there. But yeah, so cool. So it sounds like you're definitely going to be watching season 2. You've watched season 1 episodes more than once. Did you hear that it sounds like it's going to be a fall series? Season 2?
I did. I did.
Yep.
So, and at one point I read where they were going to do 12 episodes, and now I've heard 14, so I don't know which is true
I believe 14 is the true number.
because Josh Charles, said it's a lot to film that many episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you've got a hit, you may as well ride it while you can.
And what's interesting is like if they're talking about a fall release, that's like September, October, and I don't believe they started filming season 2 yet unless they're in sound stages or something.
Yeah, I want to say I heard they were going to start in July, but that means they're going to have to crank really hard and fast.
And they may be actually releasing episodes before they film them all.
True. Yeah,
Which,
very well be.
frankly, I think season 1, I felt like I was very invested in season 1. I wanted this show to be renewed. So, like, I'm just bound and determined that it be successful. I really want to love it. I think it's more Doc Martin for everybody because I certainly love the original. It felt to me like, they had those episodes in the can. So as people were reacting to various aspects of what they liked and what they didn't like, there was really no dials that they could turn to make any changes. So we kind of had to get it renewed to season 2 so that they could, maybe they're perfectly happy with everything the way that it is. And, there's enough people who love it the way it is that there's no need to make any changes. But they can actually now take some feedback that they got from season 1 viewers and
Right.
adjust characters, adjust plot lines. I know you've seen Chris a couple of times in the front ends of the best episodes of Podcast Portwenn. Chris is my husband, and the two of us would like to see the plot lines be a little bit smoother and more organic rather than sort of like a nugget of this and a nugget of this and a nugget of this. So I'm hoping that they can do more of that. I'd like to see. I just want to see an explanation that makes the cutie and the goldfish thing make sense. Because to me, that'll completely heal my relationship with Mark.
Yeah, I mean, like he's a dork, but he's who he is.
And he's, like you said, he's sweet as could be. He's very nice. He's very engaging. He's a handsome man. I do like him. There's just an over-the-topness that I want to be toned down, and I need that explanation of why a 40-year-old would think that a goldfish could join a band to make it make sense that he could be with the school teacher for 8 years.
Yeah, yeah, and with the last 2 episodes, I think some of that kind of happened a little bit. The way he approached Martin at the end, like, you're lying to yourself when you kissed, that it didn't mean anything to you, lying to me, and all this stuff. And so hopefully he will find his true love and have a good life.
Yeah, I want him to have a love interest.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with Aunt Sarah, there's those 2 men that are kind of could go after her. The one that had her going help fish, go out
Right.
getting the lobster. And I can't remember their names. The other one was when he called her in to say, you haven't paid your lobstering license yet,
Okay.
and I'll be willing to help you.
Well, there's
So,
Franklin. Yeah, Franklin was the guy who was saying that your lobster license isn't.
okay.
But I thought he seemed like he was just taking a neighborly view to her, whereas
Mm,
Eddie, who's the guy who she punctures his tires and then like starts smooching him in the parking lot all in the same
yeah.
episode. He's the guy who helped her with the fishing. And it
hmm
sounds like they're an on again, off again pair.
It's kind of a silent Doc and Louisa situation. It's not as obvious
Mm-hmm.
in your face type of thing, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I certainly hope she's able to keep her house.
Yes. Yes.
And I definitely want to get to the bottom of the Rosemary accident, you know. But
They claim answers, we'll get answers to our questions, so we'll
yeah,
see.
that's good. And I hope it's, a multi-season show.
It's a show that is much needed. There's nothing out there on TV that's like it.
Yeah.
In fact, a friend and I were kind of commiserating on text. It's like, geez, there's nothing on TV. It's like, I know you got 500 channels and nothing to watch,
Yeah. Yeah.
When something like this comes on, it's fun, it's refreshing.
It's
And
light. It
when you,
doesn't really challenge you from the standpoint of like there's nothing to really have too much of an argument about. It's just a nice show.
right,
Yeah. And I
right.
love how Mackenzie and Jennifer, the mom and her daughter, right? I mean, granted, Mackenzie's in her mid-20s, but and their dad husband, Michael, the three of them, they make it an event every week to watch it together.
Well, that's
And
cool.
I love that. I love that there's a show that's multi-generational like that.
Yeah, because there just really isn't that much out there. Because I mean, I'm old, and we had TV shows like Mary Tyler Moore to watch
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. Carol Burnett.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
everybody thoroughly enjoyed it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just not out there anymore.
Yeah. And the tone I want to strike in the podcast, I think in season 1 we got extremely analytical, which people did enjoy. Like I think people enjoy seeing folks get together and talk about the show. Because even if there's 15 million people who are watching Best Medicine in the United States, I think there's like 340 million Americans. So you don't all have a person to talk about the show to, Now, do
hmm
you have friends that you can talk the show with?
Oh, I've encouraged people to watch it, but I've got one friend that has watched it. She's in her high 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and she enjoys it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, not really. I keep telling people, watch the show. It's fun.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really grateful that it's going to be on in like September, October. I would have hated to have to wait for January or something.
hmm
I must admit, it's been nice to have a break because it is a bit of a treadmill for me producing the podcast every week, but I do enjoy having the opportunity to talk to people about it and giving people who don't have that opportunity a chance to have, virtual friends that they can enjoy the conversation with.
Yeah. And there's a lot to talk about because they pack a lot of stuff in the show, especially when the Norwegians came rolling in and trying to take over. I mean,
Yes.
it's like, wow, a
Yep.
lot of stuff going on.
Yep. Yep. A lot's to come. I really appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed talking to you.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed talking with you as well.
Very good, very good. And so, folks who are watching this, if you've enjoyed this, please like the episode, subscribe to the feed, leave comments. Just want to remind everybody, if you want to pay it forward or just say thanks to the folks who created the original Doc Martin, who are the producers of Best Medicine, who are in Best Medicine, consider a donation to Buckham Fair. It's buckhamfair.com, and there is a short that describes what it's all about. So, Carol, thank you very much. I've enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll see you again.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining Podcast Portwenn. Podcast Portwenn is an independent fan production, not affiliated with, endorsed by, or sponsored by Buffalo Pictures, ITV, Fox, or the creators of Doc Martin or Best Medicine.